Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Mindfully Aligned. I'm your host, Adanze Benjamin, and thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you all are doing well. Summer is in full swing. I feel like it's really hitting now for me, now that I'm all settled and stuff into my new routine. I feel like things are good. I just want to take a second to kind of catch up with you guys, recalibrate before we head into the episode. But yeah, as I was saying, I feel like I've really been settling into the summer vibes, getting my walks in, figuring out my new workout routine, my new podcast recording space in the house, the whole nine. And, trying to work in the fun summer activities. I had an amazing 4th of July weekend. I got to see my friend Rachel, who's been in LA. Haven't seen her in so long. We got to hang out, catch up. I've just been really enjoying these past few weeks. I'm also going to celebrate my friend's birthday this weekend. Happy birthday, Allie, a good friend of the pod. And yeah, so I'm super excited, and it's just been super nice to be able to recenter myself, have a bit of fun after this hectic past month. June was just absolutely crazy. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be back and recording another episode for you guys, and that's pretty much what's new with me. So without further ado, let's talk about accepting help, the theme of today's episode. Honestly, one of the biggest lessons I have had to learn in my life in order to become the person I want to become is learning how to ask for help. I don't know if it's the Aquarius in me or the Capricorn moon in me or the eldest daughter in me. Something about me, I have had a really hard time accepting that I can't do everything all at once and that sometimes you need to lean on people and sometimes you need to ask for help. That was such a hard concept for me to understand, but once I fully mastered that, it changed my life. And I say fully mastered because we all like to say, yeah, I know, I need the help, yeah, I know. We all know that help is important, quote unquote. But when you really understand that you need to ask for help in life, like you just have to, no matter how well off you think you are, it's a whole different ballgame once you actually apply it to your life. And so I wanted to bring that message to you guys because it's kind of been the theme of the week for me. I've just had a bunch of conversations with my friends about this, and it was already on my mind too. So I was like, you know what? I think this is a perfect episode for the podcast. Now, there are many ways that we will need help in our lives, or guidance, or support. Those are all forms of it. But, it could be in terms of in school, if you're really struggling in a course, you might need help, someone to study with, or perhaps a tutor. Mental health-wise, maybe you need a friend to lean on or a therapist. If you're trying to be on your own, but you're struggling financially, whatever the case may be, life has a way of just handing us problems sometimes, and they just come up. Sometimes we're overwhelmed with work, whatever it is. And when that happens, there's really only so much we can take. We can try to take everything like a champ if we want, and I know that's a person I've been, but we have to also understand that there's a limit to how much we should be able to take before it becomes like almost inhumane. Like, you know what, wait, you have to take a step back. Why am I subjecting myself to this? Does it really have to be this way? I know for me, I felt like asking for help meant I was weak or that I couldn't do it myself. And I was like, no, I can't do it myself, so I will. I have to. It doesn't have to be that way. Asking for help doesn't mean you're weak or doesn't mean you can't do it. No one's saying that. It just means you need to tap someone in to help you. For example, have you ever had your boss ask you to do something super simple, something that seems so easy that in the time that they asked you, they could have just done it themselves? It's because of bandwidth. Could they have done it? Yeah. But they need to save their mental load for other more important things. We have to understand our own mental load. We're human. There's only so much we can take on before we start to crumble and it becomes too much. Could you pass that super hard class on your own? Probably. Could you get yourself out of that mental rut you're stuck in on your own? Probably. But Both those things would take longer and be much harder. If you have the choice to share the load, why not do it? Why are we putting this unnecessary pressure on ourselves? That is something I really want us to take a second to think about. Just because we can do it a certain way or on our own doesn't mean we necessarily have to. Like, it would really be so much harder. It would really take so much longer. Do we have to put ourselves through that? Like, if you're already going through something, if you're already in a tough spot, is now really a good time to choose the hard way, to make it harder for yourself? No. That's actually when our capacity is probably at its lowest, our self-esteem is at its lowest, and that's when we really need to tap in someone else to help us out here. If you want to reach your full potential, sometimes that requires using your resources. So I want to get into the why of why we sometimes choose the hard way and why we have a hard time just asking for help sometimes. I think one of the biggest reasons is pride. I think that a lot of us, myself included, feel like it's almost a little embarrassing to admit that you can't do this on your own. I've become so much more at peace with myself by acknowledging, you know what, I'm a strong person. I probably could do it on my own, yeah, as I was just saying, but like, I deserve the easier way. I deserve to have an easier time at this. Certain things shouldn't be so hard. So you know what? As a treat to myself, let me make this easier for myself. I honestly think that that is a form of self-love. If I love myself, why do I want to put myself through the unnecessarily hard thing? And that's not to say, like, to run away from hard stuff. We know that that's not what I mean. I mean, like, if you are in a period of struggle, you should love yourself enough to not want to sit through that. Don't let your pride get you stuck and in a sucky position. And I think another reason is comfortability. If you have the resources to make a change, but you're just not doing it, or you're finding reasons why you can't at the time. Oh, I can't. I've just been too busy. I've been forgetting. Oh, I've been meaning to. Whatever it is. If that's you, the deeper question here is, are you comfortable in your pain? I just want to let that question sit for a second because it's a tough question. Like, it's a really vulnerable question to answer for yourself. I think a lot of us get comfortable in our pain. We're used to the struggle. We're used to always having that dark cloud hang over our heads. So much so that we don't even notice it anymore. And the thing about that dark cloud is when you fail, when you try something and you fail, or something doesn't go your way, you can easily blame that thing. Well, yeah, it's because I don't have a therapist. Oh, yeah, it's because, I don't make enough money right now. Oh, well, yeah, it's because I'm just bad at math. Whatever it is, we always have that crutch. It gives us a great excuse not to grow. Oh, I hated my job anyway. I was depressed, so I couldn't do that. But what happens when we remove that block? That means, you know what, now I have no excuse anymore. Now I really have to do it. We can't hide behind that gray cloud anymore. Now we really have to answer to ourselves and hold ourselves accountable. And that could be intimidating. So subconsciously, sometimes we just keep ourselves stuck in the position we know. That position might suck, it might be full of turmoil, but it's something that we're used to. We're used to dealing with that thing, so you know what, we don't even notice how hard it is anymore. We have to really fight that comfortability stage, that comfortability feeling, because that is when you become stagnant. Really think to yourself, why am I making myself do this? Why am I making myself stuck? All the reasons I can come up with, are those real reasons, or could I honestly solve them myself? Could I get through those reasons myself and make this solution happen? And I think that just takes a level of accountability that you have to get ready for. But it's not something to be scared of. I think that we genuinely have to be so much stronger than that. Like, you know what, yes, I'm used to this, but like, I know that life can be better. I know that it doesn't have to be this way. I know it doesn't have to be so hard. And that goes back to the loving yourself conversation. Even on a deeper level, if you're stuck in a traumatic situation, you have to love yourself enough to pull yourself out of it. The same goes for, on a lighter level, any other struggle you're going through. Do you love yourself enough to not put yourself through that anymore? Because it's really you. It's your life. What choices are you going to make to line yourself up for happiness? And sometimes that means asking for help, but you have to choose to ask. And here's the thing that for me really sticks with me. You don't want to ask yourself where you could have been if you had the peace and the clarity and the assistance this whole time. You don't want years to fly by and you're stuck in the same position, or you're behind on where you wanted to be. And you ask yourself, where did the years go? What happened? You're blaming your past self. Why didn't she do this? Where could I have been? I don't want to be in that position. I feel like I owe it to my future self to do the best I can with what I have. Again, I can't do it all, but I can definitely make the most of my resources. So I have insurance. I figure, you know what? I'm going to get a therapist because the mental struggles I have, I shouldn't go through it alone. And it has been so much easier for me since then, since I made that decision for myself. I loved myself enough to do that, to go out of my way, use my resources. I'm blessed enough to have insurance. I'm blessed enough to find a therapist that takes that insurance, and then I can do it. It's certain things like that. And lastly, that leads into my next point. Perspective is super important when we feel like we're stuck in a bad position. We have to take advantage of the resources we have. I think about it this way. People who are worse off than you will wish they had the options that you did. For example, emotionally supportive parents, a roof over your head that you can move back home to, a financially stable family, insurance for a therapist, like I was saying, supportive friends who care about how you're doing, a boss who sees your potential, having a car to be able to drive to where you need to go, to be able to drive to a job, so much more. Take a second and count your blessings. There are so many people out there who don't have any of what I just listed. If you have even just one of those, ask yourself, how do you make the most of what you have? How do you make sure you're not going to waste it? Because when I sit back and I think, you know what, I have all these things, why would I not use that? That just makes me sound stubborn and ungrateful. And I don't like that feeling. You know what? I'm blessed that I have XYZ. So why am I going to do this on hard mode unnecessarily? Use what you have. You may not have everything. I don't. No, not everyone does. Nobody has everything. But what we do have, we have to use it. If you have a person in your life who is older than you and you look up to them, you can ask them for professional advice. If you have friends that care about you, why are you holding in what you're going through? Speak up. Let them know what you're going through. Let them know you need a shoulder to lean on. I feel like pride and comfortability and being stagnant can really block our blessings, and it doesn't have to be that way. There's that African proverb I'm sure many of you have heard that says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And that is so true. If you want to make progress in your life that has longevity, it's really important to understand when it's time to tap in our resources. When it's time to ask that friend, hey, I need advice. Or your boss, hey, can I pick your brain about something? Look at the network of people you have in front of you. Look at the resources that you are lucky enough to have. How do you use that to your advantage? How do you level up yourself? How do you keep yourself improving and growing on an even higher level than you have been? It honestly feels so good now that I have released that mentality of trying to do everything on my own. I have definitely, over the past, I want to say like year and a half, the value of a team, the value of voicing what you need. I want to emphasize that because no one knows, again, what you're capable of, what your strengths are or your weaknesses. No one knows that better than yourself. So if we're going to sit and wait for the solutions to come to us or the help to come to us, we might be waiting a long time. And then there comes the question again, what could I have done in all that time? What could I have achieved in all that time that I was sitting and not helping myself? Instead, get comfortable in voicing your needs, voicing, hey, I've been feeling really bad about myself lately. Hey, I need a buddy to go to the gym. I'm really struggling to find the motivation. Whatever it is, just voice it, and I promise you, there are people around you who can answer that call. You just have to call. So that's something I really want to encourage you all to do. If you are like me and you struggle with that, it was definitely a lesson, but I think that over these past few years, it has definitely been a gradual lesson for me to fully comprehend. And I'm so grateful that I really understand that now, and I really want that for all of you. We don't have to do things the hard way, and I hope that you love yourself enough to not force yourself to do it that way. You know, there are going to be things in life that we have to kind of just get through and work hard through and push through. But you also don't have to struggle. It's okay to ask for help. You can hustle, but keep yourself from struggling. I don't want you to burn out. I don't want anyone to burn out. That's not a good feeling. You know, when you let yourself get to that point, you can really fall out of love with what you're doing and also fall out of love with life. Don't back yourself into a corner like that. Definitely take some time to appreciate all that you have around you, the network you have, the resources you have, and tap into that. Yeah, pretty much that is the thoughts of the day. I feel like it's pretty straightforward, but I think that most of this really has to do with yourself and asking yourself, why have I not asked for help for this thing? Why have I not been doing the thing I need to succeed? Yeah, I mean, I leave you with those questions. I hope that that gives you a lot of food for thought this week, because I think that when we can master that, there's just so much that we can do. There is so much that we can overcome. There's so much we can accomplish when we understand that. So I hope that resonates with you guys. And yeah, that pretty much closes out the episode. It's short and sweet. But before I leave you guys, I have to get into the song of the week. All right, so we're taking it back with this one today. I love me some R&B. I love me some 2000s R&B. So today's song of the week is Girl by Destiny's Child. I think that this song is a beautiful example of sisterhood and knowing that we don't have to go through things alone. There is the element of pride in this song. Why aren't you coming to us? Why are you keeping this from us? Why are you trying to go through this thing alone? We're your girls. We're here for you. We want to support you. We love you so much. This is what we're here to do. I think it's a beautiful song. It's a jam. It's a bop. It's amazing. I love me some Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, Michelle. I love it. So that's this week's Song of the Week. And if you're not familiar with this song, go into Spotify ASAP and tune in. After, of course, you subscribe and rate the podcast. Thank you. But yeah, great song. Again, it's Girl by Destiny's Child. And yeah, I just love the positive vibes. So that pretty much wraps up this week's episode. I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. I also hope you all enjoyed last week's guest episode. It really was a treat, and I'm happy we could explore that topic as well. So thank you all so much for tuning into another week. Be sure to subscribe, rate the podcast, share it with a friend, and interact with me on @MindfullyAlignedPodcast on Instagram. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next week.